Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Speed Racing Network. It's James Holter alongside Jonathan Byer. We're going to be bringing you the coverage tonight in the Speed Racing Network's XFINITY series. This is the Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-show.
Yes, James, it's a very good night to be here for SRN. It's a cutoff race night, which means there's a lot of excitement that's going to play out within the field, but we also have a great track that we're going to be racing on, which is going to help the product as a whole.
Absolutely. Tonight we're going to be at Auto Club, which is a very good multi-groove track. Lots of racing, and like you said, a lot on the line tonight, so might see some pretty desperate moves, but I think these guys will do a great job of keeping the cars on the track and bringing us a good product.
Yes, and here are the rundown for tonight. We are at Auto Club, like you said, 75 laps, and no fast repairs for the XFINITY series, so you got to pick your battles carefully, and if you're a playoff driver, don't get yourself in trouble and take it out too soon.
Right, 75 laps is a pretty long race, so definitely going to be about keeping the car clean, as these cars are not as aero-dependent as the Cup cars, but as a high-speed 2-mile track that Auto Club is, it's going to be necessary to keep all the fenders on the car.
Yeah, keeping the right side of that car clean here is key. You don't want that car to start pushing. Tire wear is already bad enough. You get that thing sliding through the middle of the corners, and it just makes it that much worse. Makes for a long night.
Yes, it does. And just to get into some details what the XFINITY series is about, it's a 20-week league. It is fixed setups, no fast repairs, as you touched on earlier, and these drivers spend $10 each week to get into the races. So a little bit of money on the line, but as we'll talk about later, pays off at the end of the season.
Like you said, it pays off weekly and seasonally, so a driver can earn a little cash here tonight, but everybody's chasing that bigger prize at the end of the season. That's that 500 first place for our champion, which we'll be crowning in about 4 weeks here. 5-person teams, and here is the race payout. So this is what's on the line for tonight only, which means the non-playoff drivers still have some chances to take home a little bit of cash.
Yeah, as you can see here, here's your race payouts for tonight. Paying out the top 5. First place gets $30, second place gets $20, and then third, fourth, and fifth get $10 respectively.
And here is the big money, like that $500 we just talked about. These are what all the championship contenders that make the cut tonight are going to battle for over the next 3 and 4 weeks. What's different this year is instead of just the top 5, the top 8 are all going to come home with a little bit of cash at the end of the year.
Yeah, as you can see there, like you said, $500 for your first prize, but second place getting a lot of money too with $300, and third place getting $180. Fourth place gets $120. Fifth is going to get $80. Sixth place is going to get $60. Seventh place is going to get $40, and eighth place is going to get $20. So, like you said, everybody that's going to finish in the top 8 is going to have a lot to race for. And
all right, it's the Beer Street Journal of the Week time. Journal of the Week. Wow.
This week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week is out of Orpheus Brewing in Georgia. Back around Memorial Day, Orpheus Brewing released 7 new beers to honor their 7th anniversary. But instead of sitting around and twiddling their thumbs, they came up with another beer called Do or Die Oatmeal Cream Stout. The brewmasters said, "We love making stouts and wanted to brew one that you can have pints of instead of tasters." In order to do that, they used a select mix of hops and malts that will give you the taste of chocolate, caramel, and toffee while having the aroma of coffee. It's an incredibly delicious blend that will have you coming back for seconds. So check out Orpheus Brewing's Do or Die Oatmeal Cream Stout. Go to beerstreetjournal.com for more information. The Beer of the Week is brought to you by beerstreetjournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to beerstreetjournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly.
Yeah, and big thanks to Beer Street Journal for being a sponsor for the league. Go ahead over to beerstreetjournal.com to find your next great beer. And getting into the team championship, as you can see the bracket here with your top 8 teams, up to 5 drivers on each team, and you can see the brackets here. There are 8 teams, like I said, and so still some pretty close racing, between those teams. Anything can change here coming up.
And you have to remember, just the top 3 finishers on each team accumulate the points and the totals that you see on the screen. But not all the teams have 3 eligible drivers racing for them right now, so that's why some of the gaps are bigger than the others. But I'm just looking at that first matchup we have with Revd and JW. That is a pretty tight matchup for a 1 and 8 seed.
Yeah, it is, absolutely, and there's strong drivers on each team, and we'll get into that later. But as we get into that, Rev Racing and JW, last week's winner, Jordan Bain, is on Rev Racing along with Aaron Gurwitz and Greg Olynyk.
You see on JW how much consistency can pay off. They accumulated quite a few more points than Rev, even though they didn't have the winner on their team, but when you put 3 cars in the top 10, you're going to accumulate a bunch of team points.
Right, and with JW having 5 drivers, that gives them a little more advantage over Rev. They can have a few drivers have a bad race, so part of the reason maybe why JW was a little more consistent than Rev last week in the points.
Absolutely, and in cases of their team where you have multiple drivers in the playoffs, most of those guys are going to be a little bit more conscious about points already, so it's just easy for them to accumulate them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And getting into our next matchup here, we got Tank Racing and Highline Racing, your 2 and 7 seed. Getting into those teams, we got Adrian Schumacher, who's the road course ringer, got 3rd place last week, Devin Zimmerman, and Mike Lipicki.
And Zimmerman is fastest on the practice board right now, just an interesting note. So he's looking better on the 13th place he had last week, but on Highline, we only have 2 drivers accumulating points for them, which is not helping their case in this matchup with Seth Reid and Keith. But Seth Reid had a really good run last week, and he's 4th on the board already tonight in practice.
Yeah, but like you touched on, only 2 drivers and 3 drivers getting points. It's going to take a really, really big night for Highline and a catastrophe for Tank Racing to make up this points gap.
Absolutely. Move on to our next matchup here. We got my team against Striker Motorsports with Jonathan Byer Racing. We only have 2 drivers driving for us right now with Nathan De La Rosa and Josh Marcy. When you have 2 drivers, like you said, it's just tough to accumulate points. But we're never going to stop fighting. Striker Motorsports, though, that's a bunch that if they can get through this first round, I expect them to put up a good battle against the next team.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with having 3 drivers in the playoffs. It's 3 guys that are really going to be up there week in and week out. So like you said, that's going to make them a big threat moving on once this bracket starts to close down to 4 teams and even hopefully whenever they get to the finals.
Absolutely. Next matchup we have here, the second Rev team with Rev Reloaded and R&D Motorsports. The 4-5 matchup. So this is the one you think would be the closest, but there's a pretty considerable gap here. R&D, bunch of good drivers on there with Patterson, Tiffany, and Saucer. A little bit of a struggle for them last week. When you see 9th, 14th, and 18th, there's just a little wide spread there. But lucky for them, if that is an off week for them, Rev didn't have a fantastic week either.
Yeah, Rev did not have a good week last week, but look for them to make a rebound this week with some of the drivers you can see above with Danny Dow and Nixon. Anything can happen. The points gap is close enough to where they can close it out, but is it too much of a points gap to make up in one race?
You never know. That's why we wait and see. Here's a look at the current playoff standings, and like we said, this is a cut race tonight. So the drivers in yellow would be the ones that would be cut off this list moving into next week if it were to end where you see it tonight. Jordan Bain, though, has locked himself in on points, so he can just go try to win it tonight, but everybody else is going to be fighting for every point they can get.
Yeah, as you're looking down through there, James Shanewolf has a pretty comfortable gap there, as well as Vincent Cortez, but anything can happen. And then looking down through there as your drivers in yellow, Greg Olynyk, who's had 2 bad weeks in a row, somebody who we really thought was going to be a lock going into the next round, finds himself 3 points down from the two-way tie at the cutoff race, which there will only be 10 drivers unless if it is a tie going into that next round. But and a few of those drivers in yellow also, Jose Castellanos and Jack Hedgecooks also is not in the race lobby yet, so might make a little more breathing room for those other drivers that are on the track.
Yeah, and that's big, and like I talked about last week, you look at these points, you're like, oh, there's small gaps in there, but each point is a position on the racetrack, so every pass is going to count tonight, and guys might try to stretch fuel to maybe lead a lap, because you can still accumulate bonus points. So, you're going to have to watch out for drivers who are out the cut, like Greg Olynyk, that 3 points can be made up just on bonus points alone.
Absolutely, yeah. Bonus points are huge going forward. And now we're going to get into our drivers. As Jordan Bain, our points leader currently and locked into the next round, has had a really good season. 2 wins so far. Average start of 10th and an average finish inside the top 10. And he started with 13 bonus points this year. So has had a pretty good consistent season all year round. And like you said, he just kind of is racing for a win tonight and trying to build some momentum for the next round.
Absolutely. Anytime you can have an average finish in the top 10, you're going to be pretty well off in points. Our next driver, though, is James Shanewolf. We saw him run really good last week. He's out of North Carolina for JW Racing. Has won a race this season with an average start of 8th and an average finish of 14th. Only had 1 bonus point coming on, but he's looking pretty good in the playoffs regardless. He was our playoff lucky dog as well, so barely snuck in, but sitting second in the points right now. He's making all of it.
As you noted, he was our playoff lucky dog, and his 1 win was coming in the race where he needed the win. I believe he came in somewhere around week 7, so he's really been super consistent moving forward from then, and that playoff lucky dog has paid huge dividends for him as he's looking really good going towards the next round. And getting into our next driver here, Vincent Cortez from Tank Racing has had some really, really good finishes, but just hasn't been able to finish it off, but has had a 3rd place finish at Dover, an average start inside the top 10, and an average finish right around there as well, and had about 10 points, as you can see there, going into the playoffs, as he's looking to also build momentum going towards the next round.
Absolutely, those 10 bonus points are helping him out big time right now with how tight things are. Our next playoff driver is Tyler Markle. He is currently sitting 4th in points with Stryker Motorsports out of Michigan. He won our Charlotte race this year. Average start of 21st, average finish of 16th, so he makes his way up over the course of the race. Came in with 8 bonus points, which is what's keeping him above that cut line right now. He's one of those drivers who's sitting 4th. They're in pretty good right now, but just needs a solid run tonight. Nothing crazy to happen, and he'll move on to next week.
So, like you said, yeah, just needs to have a good, consistent finish tonight, and he will have no issue making the next round. And anybody with the number 42, I got to pull for. So, Tyler Markle, hope he does good tonight. Going into our next driver, we have the road ringer Adrian Schumacher from Tank Racing. He was the winner, like I said, at Watkins Glen. Ran really well in the Cup race there as well, as I believe he finished P3. Average start and finish hasn't really reflected on how great he's run this year with 8 bonus points, but he's very comfortable in the points right now. As you said, anything can happen moving forward, but with a good finish tonight, he'll find his way into the next round as well.
Yep, and even though he's known as the road ringer, he was really fast last week at Kentucky, which is a big tire wear track like Auto Club. So I would see not expect anything crazy from him this week, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him up front at the end.
Yeah, well, this is a tire wear track, and those road course ringers seem to have a good job there with those tire wear tracks. But getting into our next driver, we have Aaron Gurwitz from Rev Racing, who's had his best finish at Charlotte and Darlington this year, which was a P5. Average starting of 22nd and an average finish of 16th. He only accumulated 4 bonus points, so he's had a really good playoffs, making his way up this far into the ranking.
And it's not surprising to see him up where he is right now. He made it all the way to the final round of the playoffs last season, so he's been here and done that before. Consistent driver, just another one like we've said that just needs to have a good solid night with nothing crazy.
Yep. Getting into our next driver, we have Beau Tiffany from R&D Motorsports. He's had a best finish of 2nd place at Talladega this season. An average start of 25th, which is pretty far down the rankings, but as you can see, his average finish is better than his average start, so look for him to make his way up through the pack as this race goes on. And only accumulating 4 bonus points this season, he's also had a pretty good standing so far this year in the playoffs.
And Tiffany is one of those drivers that just flies under the radar. He's consistent, doesn't get in a lot of trouble, that's why his average finish is higher than his average start. He makes his way up and is kind of quiet, but those are the guys that can be dangerous in the playoffs. They're not necessarily coming out in checkers or wreckers every week, but they're just advancing because they know how to accumulate points.
Yep, couldn't have said it better there, but 8th in our standings is Seth Reid from Highline Racing out of Ohio. His best finish this year was 2nd at Pocono and Richmond, so he's had 2 very close finishes to getting a win, and an average start of 15th and an average finish of 14th. He's also made a better finish than his starting position, which is somebody you have to look out for, and he's accumulated 6 points throughout so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, and another one, just like Beau Tiffany, consistent, quiet, but really had a lot of good speed last week. And, we talk a lot about momentum, and so hopefully he can carry a little bit of that speed he had last week into the race tonight and better chances of advancing.
Yep, and next into our playoffs, 9th place, is Rhett Tucker out of Florida. He was our winner at Richmond this season. He has an average start of 18th and an average finish of 15th, and he accumulated 7 bonus points this season.
He very well could have won that race last week, too. He was up front multiple times. But he's not one I'm worried about speed. He's going to find his way up front some way, somehow. But he's one that's going to have to pick his battles. Racing up front usually is a little tighter and a little bit more aggressive. Just going to have to be careful and not get himself in trouble and take himself out of it.
Yep, and the note from last week, he was in 30th place after he got it, in the first week of the playoffs, he got wrecked and was sent back to 30th multiple laps down and stayed in the race and made up 8 points, and that's basically separated him from this cut line. So, sticking in it might be what makes the difference on who makes it and who doesn't.
Absolutely, every point counts. Tristan Bailey is our 10th driver in the standings right now on that tied cut line out of with Murray Reedy Motorsports out of Mississippi. He won our Nashville race, average start of 13th, average finish of 17th. Came in with 6 bonus points, which is what's keeping him in the cut right now. But another driver that's consistent, can find his way up front, and he might need a few things to fall his direction tonight to make it, but that's why we show up, because you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Tristan Bailey is a very talented driver out of Murray Reedy Motorsports. I've raced with him for quite some time in various different leagues, and he shows speed at pretty much every track, so pretty much just has to keep his way clean, and as he's on this cut line, you just really have to remember to put a whole race together and make it to the end, and hopefully he can do what it takes to move on to the next round.
Absolutely. Devin Zimmerman is our 11th driver in the playoffs. Just like we talked about Aaron Gurwitz making it to the finals, Zimmerman was a finalist in the playoffs last year as well. Also was fastest in practice earlier tonight. So he has a really good shot of moving up. He races for Tank Racing out of North Carolina. Has 2 4th-place finishes. Those are his top finishes of the year. Starts on average in 14th and finishes on average in 16th. Came in with 8 bonus points in the playoffs.
Yeah, as you said, one of those championship drivers from last year, so he knows what it takes to get to the final round. And sounds like from being on the top of the practice charts, he's put in the practice this week, so hopefully he has what it takes to move on.
And our 12th-place driver is Greg Olynyk. 3 points out of the cut right now, but people that know him like I do and have raced around him for a year, we're not worried. We know he has the speed. He raced for Rev Racing this year out of South Carolina, won our Kansas race, average start of 15th and average finish of 14th with 16 bonus points coming into the year. Very consistent driver. Wouldn't expect him to bump somebody out of that playoff picture tonight.
Yeah, Greg Olynyk is one of those drivers that is below the you expect to try to make that move above. And as you said, he had a really, really good start to the year, winning Kansas, having a lot of consistent finishes, but has just found himself to have 2 bad races in a row in the playoffs, which is really hard to overcome. But the good news is he's only 3 points out, and it's really easy to make up.
Yep, every position counts. Jose Castellanos is 13th in points right now. He's actually tied there, 4 points outside the cut. Races for Stryker Motorsports out of Florida. His best finish this year, 6th at Darlington, a very technical track like Auto Club. Average started 22nd, average finished at 18th. Only had 2 bonus points coming into the playoffs, and so that kind of gave him behind the 8 ball, because that's one of the lower totals we've seen. But it only takes 1 good race to make up that gap. 4 points is only 4 spots.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even a couple bonus points, staying out that extra lap and leading the lap. That could become crucial. Getting that 1 extra point could be what it takes to move you on to the next round.
Absolutely. Tied with him in 13th is Daniel Keith Jr. He's 4 points out, just like Jose was. Races for Highline Racing out of Maine. Has finished 11th in 3 different tracks this year. 3 completely different tracks at that. Average start of 24th, average finish of 20th. Came in with 6 bonus points, but you see those best finishes spread out across those 3 very different tracks. That just means he can find speed wherever he is.
Yep, and with having his best finish at 3 totally different tracks, this is a totally different track from all 3 of those, so maybe he can get an even better finish than 11th at this track tonight.
Absolutely. Finally, and in 15th, Jack Hedgecoats is 18 points out, so he's going to need a little bit of help tonight, but has speed. He races for Striker Motorsports out of my home state of Texas. Finished second at Watkins Glen this year, has an average start of 19th and an average finish of 15th. Came in with 3 bonus points, which is helping him stay under that 20-point window, but he's one that might have to make a few desperate measures tonight to make it happen.
Yeah, he's going to have to be really aggressive tonight, because that's a lot of points to make up, being 18 points below the cut line. But anything can happen at a track like this where it's a lot of close racing. Anything can happen. As we're going to get into our grid here, looks like on the pole we have Michael Larch with a 41.658, and got Jordan Bain joining him on the outside row. Vincent Cortez and Devin Zimmerman making up your second row. Matthew Robertson and Tristan Bailey making up your third row.
Back half of this top 12, we have Aaron Gurwitz, playoff driver, there in 7th. Seth Reid, another playoff driver, there in 8th. But the next row, non-playoff drivers that have found their way up there. Corey Saucer in 9th and Nathan De La Rosa in 10th. Drew Bastianos is in 11th, and there's Greg Olynyk on the outside looking in. He's going to start P12, but we talked about tight racing. Look how tight these qualifying times were as well.
Yeah, look how tight these qualifying times are. Is right. Is there's only 9 1,000ths separating your pole time, and that's going to mean everybody's going to be on top of each other. With this being a cut race, that's going to really create for some tight, good racing. I think we're going to have something to call up on the board as the pace car is just starting to roll off here, and your drivers are about to take onto the track.
Absolutely, and you see these fast times, and they're pretty close, but that's only running 2 laps, and you can give it all you have for those 2 laps. But it's going to come down to who can save their stuff over a longer run. We saw a longer green flag run in the truck race last night. In fact, a whole fuel. And so just because you can make a fast lap in 2 laps doesn't necessarily mean you can make that time at the end of a fuel run, say like 35 laps.
Right, I agree with you. And like you said, it's going to be about managing those tires, the right front here at Auto Club especially. And it's really tough to know where to go, because the higher up you go, the more you're going to burn your tires, but it's going to be easier to make a pass up on the high side. But going into this race here, I'm going to have to ask you, who is your pick to win tonight?
That's tough. There's a lot of good drivers out here tonight. I believe it's going to be a playoff driver tonight, because they're going to know what they have to do to get it done. I'm picking Devin Zimmerman. He was fastest in practice, qualified in the top 5, and this is a track that I could just see him making it happen. For some reason, I just think Devin Zimmerman's the one.
You can't go wrong with Devin Zimmerman. That is a great pick. I'm going to have to go with somebody also inside the playoffs. I'm going to go with Adrian Schumacher. He's starting a little bit further back in P16, but somebody that's really good at managing his tires and has a pretty good points gap here, but the drivers here are about to take the green flag as the 52 gets a very commanding start as they're about to cross the start-finish line to start tonight's race, 75 laps at Auto Club.
This track's really wide. You'll see guys go to the very bottom and guys go to the very top. That also allows them to spread out a little bit on these starts and restarts. Everybody can kind of find their line. That can help it be a little less tight and probably help any netcode situations be avoided tonight. But, man, you're going to see these guys fan out from top to bottom.
Yeah, the 52 got a little bit loose there out of the exit of 2s. We have a yellow flag somewhere further back in the pack. Looks like we have the 13 of Beau Tiffany, and it looks like the 5 car there as well was involved in that. We'll have to get a rec replay there and check out and see what happened. But unfortunately, we had a really early mix-up there. With these tires being cold, the setup is a little bit loose to start off with. So these first couple laps are going to be a little bit edgy. But we're going to go here to our Beer Street Journal rec replay. Please drink responsibly.
See what we have going on here. Beau Tiffany, a playoff driver, too. You don't want to see playoff driver in trouble this early. They're on the bottom of the track. And like you said, it looks like the 23 just got loose and headed straight to the bottom, and unfortunately he had nowhere to go. Man, James Shamewolf was involved, yeah. But, man, that's the product of getting shuffled back in qualifying and having a bad starting spot as a playoff driver. You're at risk of what happens in front of you, and it looks like Keith just got loose and everybody else was collateral damage.
Yeah, it looks like the 13 did a really good job of checking up to miss him, but I just don't know if the drivers behind them saw what was going on, and it just ultimately caused them to stack up into the outside wall there. And that's really tough this early on, as we're going to ride on board here with the 23. As he was washing up there in the center, you can see he's already loose right there, and he's trying to catch it. Yeah, the 13 I think would have missed him, but I don't know who that was behind him there, but just clipped him and couldn't get woed up quick enough, and that just caused him to stack up there on the outside. Looks like the
that's
35 car.
35 of Josh Marcy, yeah. And you can't see through the car in front of you sometimes, and that makes it hard to slow down in a hurry. But the 23 looks like he just got his right front on that seam in the track right there, and those seams don't have as much grip as the actual pavement itself. That, with a combination of cold tires, is just not really going to work. And unfortunately, it damaged 4 or 5 cars to start this race.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate for this early on to have drivers, especially playoff drivers, involved in an incident like that. The 13 had a lot more right front end damage than I expected from the hit that he took, so let's see how much those drivers can get the damage fixed up, as they might not be able to hold in the draft. But as we were talking about earlier, Zimmerman earlier on was able to stick it out after getting into an early wreck and made up some spots with later wrecks that happened in the race. So, just because you got in that wreck now doesn't mean you're out.
Absolutely. And you talked earlier about how aero dependent this track is. That damage is just going to make it for a long night. But you can't give up. You got to keep grinding, because if drivers fall out or other wrecks happen, those are free spots, and every position is a point. So even staying out there to maybe finish 22nd instead of 30th is quite a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge deal. Like you said, every point matters, and might be only one point that separates, being in and being out. So, only being one lap here. I'm not exactly sure what the fuel window is, but I don't know if anybody will come in here and top off or not. But I expect mostly everybody here, unless if you got some damage, to stay out.
Yeah, and this race is going to pretty much be a 2-stop race if you can make it that way. But 1 lap on your tires isn't going to make you want to come down and get 4 Mr. Feelgoods. However, if we go 5 or 6, that becomes that threshold where you might think about it. But we also are limited to, I think, 4 sets of tires tonight. So you don't want to come down every time we have a 5-lap run, let's say. But definitely tire advantage is going to be key. So if you maybe can save an extra set that you could have at the end of the race, that could pay dividends as well.
Absolutely. With how wide this track is, you can really generate moves from anywhere on the track. So with those fresh tires, you can really take them just about anywhere. You can make up spots pretty easy. Even if it's only a green-white checkered, you can make up easily 10, 15 spots in 2 laps. And that could be the difference of making it and not making it, saving that extra set of tires for the end.
Yes, and I want to let our viewers know what you see on that scoring pylon over there. The green numbers are the guys that are in the cut coming into the night, and the yellow ones are the ones outside looking in. The red ones are our non-playoff drivers who are just racing for that little weekly payout we have. But James Shanewolf, I'm hearing, is in the next round of the playoffs, even if he comes in last tonight. So James Shanewolf will advance after tonight.
Yeah, Beau Tiffany was 19 points above the cut line, so really just needs to get the car back on the track and just keep making laps, and he should also find his way in. But this is really going to tighten up the window for the bottom half of the playoff drivers. If any of them has a really good race, that could really help them out moving forward.
Right, nobody's safe out here. You never know what's going to happen. Pace car's about to pull back away here. We'll see if 52 gets another good restart, and he does. He's going to pull away from that second row. That bottom line is going to be the preferred one on the restarts tonight.
Yes, it is, as they're taking the green flag right now. 2 wide for third place there between the 51 and the 69 of Cortez. In the outside lane, they're stacked up a little bit with where Jordan Bain was, but he got a pretty good push. In the top 4 or so are going to be single file here going through 1 and 2.
Mentioned fuel window. One thing interesting to note, the leader doesn't get as good fuel mileage as the guys behind him. So if I'm the 52, man, leading this race is good, but do I really need to? I might need to fall back and maybe let the 51 go for a few laps and try to save a few laps for the fuel.
Yeah, the track position here being crucial, maybe not as crucial as most tracks, as we're riding along right now with our leader, Michael Larch. I just think having the lead at this point is crucial, especially getting those points even though he's not in the playoffs. It's good to have that clean air, and the 51 I think is just with him, pushing him around right now in this front straightaway, just riding in line, clocking these laps down, as they really don't have any pressure from behind with Cortez.
Absolutely, and that car does drive a heck of a lot better when there's nobody in front of it. That air is clean, you have all that downforce on the nose, but I guarantee you he doesn't want to see what's going on behind him. These guys are all over the place. And some of those playoff drivers, this is some tight racing. It's elbows up right now back there in the pack.
Yeah, it is. And we see the 69 of Cortez here experimenting with the high side. As Jordan Bain looks like he's going to be able to clear him here out of 4. But see what kind of run here the 69 is going to get. Oh, somebody in the wall there. I'm not sure what car that was, but looks like they were able to keep it going. Looks like it was Nathan Nixon there. He's going to be able to keep it going.
Just got there a little bit, which right side damage is never preferred on a track like this, but it doesn't look like he hit it very hard, so no harm, no foul right there for now. He's just going to lose a few spots on the track. But we saw Vincent Cortez using that high line right there, which is interesting. It's not necessarily going to be really good on your tires because you're going to put a lot more heat in them, but if you're just trying to get out of the danger zone and maybe get some clean air on that nose, not a bad place. You can still make decent time up there.
Yeah, you can, but like you said, it really does burn up those right sides, but it's just kind of that thing you have to counter as the race goes on. Do I want to save tires? Do I want to get track position? You know, what exactly you want to do at that point of the run? But it looks like he's going to ride as he rode the lower line there in 3 and 4 that time.
And all these drivers funneling into a single file line, a lot like what we see at a plate track when guys are trying to save fuel. And I think that's what a lot of guys are doing right now. They realize this race is 75 laps. We do need to make it the distance at some point tonight. Just settle in line, lock some laps, and if you're the 51, you're sitting pretty right there, saving a little bit of fuel, not letting the leader out of touch. Probably taking it easy on his tires, too, because he's not worried about pushing it too hard.
Right, yeah, I was going to note that. I was going to say the 52 out of 2 there that last time looked like he was pushing out of the corner pretty hard. And the 51 was able to keep it right on his tail, so maybe they can separate themselves here from third-place driver Jordan Bain, and then they can relax and save a little bit of tire towards the end of this run, as they are teammates.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. As a team owner myself, there's nothing better than watching your guys work together, and that's key. I mean, even though these two aren't in the playoffs, they're still trying to win for their team and for their team points. So locking down the first 2 positions is really important, and they're doing a great job of it. They've built a little gap there, just taking care of their stuff. We have some good battles back here in the pack. Corey going under Nathan right there for the 10th place position, it looks like. Again, guys kind of spread out all over the track in the corners trying to find out where their car makes the most grip.
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing here to note, if you make a move on the bottom, especially as this run goes on, you really need to do a good job of clearing the guy, because you're not going to have quite a good of a run going down the straightaways, and you can lose a good amount of spots if you aren't in that draft. So it's important to go through the corner like Tristan Bailey did right there and make sure that you clear on the exit of the corner. Is even, you know, he's going to get the back door here, but this draft's going to pull him right down the straightaway.
Man, and don't do what I did last night if you're watching that race. Don't clear yourself if you're unsure and you don't know if you're going to clear that guy. It's better to be a little bit on the safe side than sorry side, especially if you're a playoff driver, because you're putting a lot of points at risk. But it looks like everybody's giving each other a pretty decent amount of room here because it's still early. But that window of room is going to tighten up as this race gets further on.
Yeah, absolutely. As these laps start to count down, the drivers will get that that sense of urgency, and these moves might get a little bit tighter, and that's when mistakes start to happen. For 3 wide here between Daniel Dow here for 14th, looks like with the 21, and that's, I think, Nathan Nixon there in the 98. Looks like they're going to get to 2 wide on the exit of the corner. The Danny Dow was the one to take advantage of that move on the bottom.
Yeah, there's cars everywhere back here, and when you're on that bottom and there's a car outside of you, if they're not actively going around you and sitting at your door, that car gets really tight. And you just got to be careful not to slide up into them, because then you can cause a big chain reaction accident, kind of like what we saw when a car got loose on lap 1. But, man, not a lot of patience going on back here, but they are keeping it straight. Dylan Patterson, we see him be aggressive week in and week out. Man, staying true to his game here tonight, making his way through it right here. But you do have to worry, what are those tires going to look like in a few laps if he's pushing this hard?
Yeah, that's the thing. He is the biggest mover of the race, but will he be able to obtain and keep all that track position as this run and as these tires get heat and this run goes on? But he's making his way right here past the 43. 99's following suit right behind him as they're making their way through 3 and 4. The 43 is going to get a pretty good run here on the outside. I thought he was going to have the 43 clear. I think the 43 is actually going to clear himself here going down this back straightaway.
43 of Jack Hedgecote. No, he's on the outside looking in, so he's not going to give up positions with East tonight. You go back up front here, last week's winner, Jordan Bain. We remember he was able to capture the win last week because of strategy. He stayed out longer, caution came out, he was able to come down and get that service and get back out in the lead. This could play into his hands again tonight if he's able to do something similar, because we have a lot of tire fall off like we did at Kentucky. But you can also save fuel sitting back like where he is right now. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep our eye on as we get closer to the end of this race.
Absolutely. Jordan Bain's somebody that I've raced with for a good period of time, and he is really good at strategy, really good at saving his stuff. and makes the moves at the right time. So he is somebody that I expect to run really, really well tonight. And I think he's just kind of riding here and minding his time, saving a little bit of fuel, keeping the tires as cool as he can, and he's going to capitalize on it at the end of the run.
Here comes Greg Olynyk up to 8th. Outside looking in, he knows what he needs. He was only 4 points out coming into this race, and he's doing all he can right now to close that gap. And with some of the playoff drivers having a little bit of trouble early, he's taking full advantage of it. But you see him take that car all the way to the bottom, and you see the leaders doing it as well. That line has shifted from the middle to the bottom. Guys trying to get that car to turn a little bit better. Getting all the way on that line can help you do that. But we're about 10 laps into this green flag run, and this is when you're going to start to see the guys that have been saving their stuff get by the guys that were pushing it a little too hard early.
Yep, and we saw Greg Olynyk run a nice shipwrecked Halloween scheme there. Had to point that out. It's a really good-looking car.
Absolutely, and with the pink numbers for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, nice touch. Greg Olynyk's always running out great paint schemes, but that shipwreck scheme is awesome, and he's making it look quick out there.
Yes, he is. Going back up here to the front, still got Michael Larch up here in the front, also running a nice Halloween scheme there, too, with Track Racer on the quarter panel. Him and his teammate Robinson there have still been able to keep a good gap in front of Jordan Bain. Teammates there. I know you like seeing that, being the team owner.
I do. Teammates, you have them for a reason. You should use them, and this is a perfect example of teammates working together. But also, as a team owner, there's no better ways to get your sponsors some TV time than putting those two cars up front next to each other. Those Track Racer machines are looking fast. Love the 52 with the matte finish on it and the Halloween theme. That's an awesome car, and man, no car looks better than when it's out front.
Absolutely, yeah. And you touched on teammates. I can know from the Cup side, from being the team owner on Next Level, we do our best also to get the team racing, get the sponsors out there, and it's awesome to see your team do really good. And as an owner, it's really rewarding. As we had a car there in the outside wall, looks like it was a white car. I couldn't really catch a number on who that was, but looks like he's going to keep it rolling there.
Yeah, there's a couple of cars back here. Yeah, it looks like Justin Rideout was the one that got the fence a little bit. You see, yeah, a little bit of damage on the top. Oh, he hit Patterson.
What a save!
Great. Oh my gosh, Patterson had that thing steering locked to the right to save that thing. Wow, that was almost disastrous in front of a playoff driver with the 99 right there. But woo, we got through it okay. Everybody's going to try to get back in their rhythm now and catch their breath.
Rideout didn't have damage before. He definitely has a little bit on that right front now. It looks like they might have made a little more contact there through 3 and 4. Not sure if there was some displeasure earlier before, but looks like they're going to sort it out here, battling for 16th.
Don't think it's just the playoff drivers that are giving it their all. These are a few non-playoff drivers right here that are going at it and giving each other the bumper. Everybody's out here to win something tonight. Everybody's out here to do the best they can for their sponsors and team. And so that's just a byproduct of it. But, you know, we saw a couple cars, including the 50 right there, kiss that outside wall, and that's a product of these tires wearing out. You're not sure how hard to push it. Sometimes you just overstep that boundary on corner exit and get yourself in a little bit too much trouble.
Corner exit, especially turn 4 here, that wall comes up pretty quick, and you can get lost in it, and next thing you know, you're in it, especially when you're trying to arc it out as close as you can to the outside wall to keep as much momentum as you can for that really long front straight. Yeah, this front pack's starting to bunch up a little bit.
Yeah, we just saw Seth Reid right there almost do the same thing. He had that thing locked to the left and keep it out of the fence. But ooh, that's an incredible looking pink breast cancer awareness race car right there that Seth Reid's running tonight. Playoff driver that's currently in, just trying to have a good solid night like we said he needed to, and running in 7th place is a pretty solid night in my book.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. He was tied for 7th in the point standings, and he was about 13 points above the cut line, so doing exactly what he needs to do, run a clean race, keep the fenders clean, and run inside the top 10. That's exactly what you got to do to move on to the next round.
Absolutely, and you see Devin Zimmerman, my pick right there, is all over the back bumper of the 88. Just not able to get a good line into the corner to get by him, but he's putting that pressure on and see if he can force the 88 into making a mistake here.
Yeah, he's riding right up on him here, going through turn 2. I think he backed off that corner a little bit looking to get a good run on exit, but just can't quite get there. But kind of a 7-8 car breakaway, and then it's too wide behind them there, but these guys are doing a really good job keeping the cars clean, and I think they're just single file riding this out, waiting for these pit stops to happen. They're going to be coming up pretty soon, as we're about 15 laps into this run, but probably about another 10 laps until you see some people start to come on the pit road.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with strategy, because you could short pit and help yourself out a lot, like we talked about the tire fall off. However, if it keeps going green, you're not going to want to be on those tires very much longer when the new guys that came off pit road start hunting you down on the racetrack. So it's going to be, what do you want to risk? And for the 52, you're kind of sitting duck because the people behind you have the hands of strategy, and you just kind of got to go along with what you want to do. However, you have your teammate behind you, so you guys can bounce ideas off each other and try to play the same strategy. But what's really impressive, our top 19 cars are all within 4 seconds of each other. That is really impressive for a track like Auto Club.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were touching on with strategy, it's really hard to know when to come in because this track has a lot of tire fall off. You can make up a lot of time by short pitting, and you kind of want to be with that pack. Even if you pit a lap later and you're not with that pack, you're going to have to burn your stuff up to catch them. So really about, like you said, kind of working with teammates, trying to work with some people and stay together. But somebody that's in the back, that's outside looking in, like Keith Jr. or Hedgecox, that's, back in 13th or, maybe outside the top 20, maybe you short pit and get up in that pack and try to hold your own here. As Tristan Bailey looking to the inside here for P5.
Good battle right here. Everybody's being pretty respectful. Zimmerman slotting up right there, but letting out right there, not taking him in the 88 out of it by pushing the issue because we're only 22 laps into this thing. But like you were saying about strategy, we got a battle for the lead here. Teammates going side by side. Maybe a little swap here to see if we can help the 52 save a little bit of fuel like the 51 was. Jordan Bain's going to take advantage of them trying to swap positions and slide right up, trying to get the second right there. That was tight. Looks like the 52 is going to get the run, and the 51 and 52 are going to maintain 1 and 2.
Yep, and then Bain blocks Cortez there and holds his third position as we're riding on board with him now, watching these two Jonathan Byer teammates here up front, really controlling this thing so far. And like you said, I think that they are trying to control this race, and they're just trying to save fuel as best as they can.
And it's a lot like what we saw when NASCAR was in the tandem drafting period. That guy in front of you is not saving a lot. Go ahead and swap positions. We see Jordan Bain taking a peek back to the inside of the 52 here. That's going to be a tough line in the corner because he's not going to have as much room. 52 is going to get a better run off. We'll see how hard he can drive it in. That outside is just going to be the preferred way right now, especially if you're trying to pass. And we see the 69 Vincent Cortez taking advantage of that outside, and he's going to get by Bain as well.
Yeah, that's a tough thing about making the pass on the bottom. Yeah, you can get there, you might be able to pull even, but like I was talking about earlier, if you can't complete the pass on the exit of the corner, you leave yourself vulnerable to the guys behind you being able to pass you. So you kind of saw that there with Cortez getting past Jordan Bain, but I think Bain has a little bit better pace than these two out front, so I really don't see it being an issue, him getting back up there.
Yeah, what I see right now is patience. He just looks like he's being patient, which, that's what he looked like all last week, and the result was the best it could be. He won the race. But of these playoff drivers, you have Vincent Cortez, Jordan Bain, Devin Zimmerman, Aaron Gurwitz, Tristan Bailey all in the top 10 that are currently in. Do you stay out to get that extra bonus point and maybe risk losing a little bit of time to the guys that short pit? That's all an option for them in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, somebody like Jordan Bain who's already locked in, I would stay out as long as you can because ultimately you're not going to miss the next round of the playoffs, so you're going to have the strongest tires, and looks like you have the best long run speed, so you might as well try to capitalize as much as you can on your benefit and stay out as long as you can. As I think he's been saving a little bit of fuel too, so I think you stay out as long as you can if you're Jordan Bain, but some of those other drivers like Greg Olynyk that aren't quite in the playoffs but riding P7 and pretty close up there still, do you come in and put an extra lap maybe to gap a couple of those drivers and then defend the high side and just try to hold that position? That's really a tough call, with 50 laps to go. It's a lot of racing left. So
absolutely, Cortez is hunting these front two right now, but he's also looking like he's being a little patient as well. Him and Jordan Bain are kind of going back and forth, but not burning the stuff up, trying to race each other too hard because they know why race each other on lap 20. Oh, Greg Olynyk's pitting. Seth Reid as well. With him. Man, two playoff drivers short pitting, like we talked about.
Yeah,
they may not be confident in that long run making pace. Come get those fresh tires and try to close that gap on the leaders.
It was almost like they were listening to us. I was just saying about how he maybe should short pit it to try to make up some track position. He got on pit road really well, but so did Seth Reid, and it looks like Jordan Bain here is going to be making a move on Vincent Cortez for P5. Oh, wait, that's not Cortez. I'm sorry, that's Devin Zimmerman making a move for P4 on Jordan Bain.
And, you'll see the guys that are coming to pit road on the backstretch, they'll pull all the way to the bottom to indicate they're going to come. And so I'm hearing on the radio a few more guys are going to come down this time. Looks like the 8 car of Dylan Patterson's going to come. Man, I could see this being a couple cars each lap. You know, when guys are comfortable, they don't have a lot of guys in front of them or behind them. They're going to have a clean entrance to make it to pit road. That's probably when guys are going to want to come get their service. But there's always the bonus point hanging in the balance that could make a guy stay out a little bit longer. But as a strategy guy, this is what I love to watch.
Absolutely. You're going to see a little bit of everything in this race, like you said, just a few people trickling on here and there. But, you know, the tire gap is so huge. So these guys that are pitting early, you know, they're going to have 3, 4, or 5, maybe even a 6-second lead over Robertson and Larch if they stay out, you know, the length of this fuel run. But the question is can they make that time back up with this extreme fall off? And, you know, it just depends on who you have and how many cars you have with you with this draft. You know, if you have 3, 4, 5 cars with you, that can make the difference. You know, even if you have better tires than the guys that have more cars than you, you know, you might be able to not make up that time just because they have more draft on the straightaways.
Yeah, and we're about 25 laps into this green flag run right here, and the tires are about 2 seconds slower now than they were when we started this race. Now, interesting note, you saw Greg Olynyk blend back on the track right there, probably around the 17th, 18th position, but he is a lap down. I wouldn't be surprised if he unlaps himself in about 5 or 6 laps, because that 2 seconds per lap is big.
As you can see already right here, he cycled out to, we got a mix-up here towards the front.
Nice shuffling up here, but look, Olynyk blended back right by P18 about 2 laps ago, and he's about to unlap himself already. That's just the big difference in tires.
Yeah, absolutely, and that might really convince these guys to come on down and get some service, because he's just going to go ahead and pull away here from the 52 at Larch. And I'm not sure if Robertson hit the wall or if he just saw it coming and let out a lot just so he wouldn't hit it, but nonetheless, these drivers did a great job in not collecting each other and spreading out and keeping all 4 corners of the car clean and keeping this race moving green.
And what's tough is when you have mixed pit strategies and guys on fresher and guys on older tires. It's not like when a leader's lapping a lap car. You kind of know where he's going to go. You've seen him a couple laps. You got the faster guy coming behind you as the leader, and that can be tough to sort out. And we could see things like what we saw there on the front stretch. Guys just get mixed up a little bit.
As we see Daniel Keith here from Highline Racing going on the pit road. One of those drivers that's on the outside looking in. So, like I said, looking to pit a little bit early just to try to make up some track position and maybe move his way up through. Looks like we have a couple more drivers signaling low here. Or maybe that's drivers making their way through. I think that's Seth Reid in the 8 car just trying to make their way through on the fresher tires.
What's interesting is Seth Reid and Greg Olynyk came down pit road together. Bumper to front bumper, right? Look how far... Oh, we got the leader coming in, but look how far Greg Olynyk got out in front of Seth Reid. Just because he was able to get through those slower cars faster.
Yeah, he did. Looks like the 51. Yeah, we got a lot of drivers. Danny Dow coming in. We got the 39 coming in as well with him. And we got the 19 of Corey Saucier also coming in. So a lot more drivers starting to come in. And I think it's going to really make these leaders want to come in. As Vincent Cortez is going to end up your leader thus far.
Tell you what happened. They saw those guys on the fresh tires blow by them. And they said, I want what they have. And they're going to come get it. But still have a few drivers staying out here. Look how many of the playoff drivers that were running in the top 10 are still out there. The top 4 were all in the top 10 before the pit cycle started. They're still out there, haven't pitted yet.
Cortez looks like he's going to be making his pit stop here. And Beau Tiffany's made his way all the way up to 14th, even after being in that early accident. So got their stuff fixed there and making his way up through the pack and doing a great job.
Well, and he had to come down and fix that little bit of damage he had from that incident. So he had a couple lots more of fuel. He's going to be able to stay out a little bit longer. Maybe he can catch a caution. And, man, that'll really work out in his favor. But big help in points in being able to battle back where he is right now. You see these guys blending back on. They're going to blend into this lead lap traffic. And there's going to be cars all over the place. You're going to have faster cars trying to get around, but you're going to have guys in front of them trying to get on the pit road.
Yeah, you are. And the question is how far can these leaders here stretch this is? We went green around lap 5. I really thought about 30 laps is really about as far as you could stretch it. So I would be thinking we're going to see pretty much everybody cycle through here within the next couple laps as we have De La Rosa and Hedgecoke's coming to pit road.
Yeah, Hedgecoke's playoff driver looking in. Beau Tiffany's coming down here, so was able to stretch it a little further. We got a couple more drivers that are on the radio saying they're going to come down this time. Didn't see any pit road penalties or anybody have to come down a second time, which is something you always have to worry about making green flag pit stops, especially if you're a playoff driver. don't speed on pit road, don't get an unsafe pit entrance or exit, and avoid having to come back down and serve that penalty.
Absolutely. Looking through your top 5 here.
Zimmerman hitting last minute right there.
He got sideways coming to pit road. Wow.
That's
what an entry.
That's what we call maximizing getting onto pit road right there, which it's a risky business. Luckily, was able to save it. A couple more playoff drivers come down and a couple non-playoff drivers. Tristan Bailey's going to assume the lead here and take a bonus point his way.
Yeah, which is coming in tied for 10th in the points. That's going to be huge for him getting that one bonus point. A couple of those other drivers who were below him making a mistake, but still, having that one extra point, by leading this lap. Will we see him come down this time? Not sure, but great to have that one extra point in the bank.
I got to shout out my own cars, but Josh Marcy's running 6th right now. Remember, he got caught up a little bit in that early incident. Has a few extra laps of fuel, so he's going to be able to stretch this out a little further. So he could probably stretch it out far enough where maybe he only has to stop once from here to the finish. Looks like he's going to dive down right here. But a few extra laps of fuel can make a big difference.
Absolutely, and Jordan Bain and my pick, Adrian Schumacher, here are 1-2 right now. Jordan Bain, as I said, was likely saving fuel, and having those extra laps on the tires is going to pay huge dividends towards the end. And I'm really curious to see how this is actually going to play off, as it looks like Schumacher is going to make his way to pit road as he's kind of signaled his way to the bottom.
We got to stop calling Adrian Schumacher the road course ringer. This guy's fast on ovals, too, and he's shown it the last couple weeks, and he's hitting that playoff momentum at the right time. He's going to dive off here and get some service. Going to get down on that flat before he gets too hard on the brakes to make sure that car stays pointed forward and avoid spinning it out.
Yep, Adrian Schumacher is going to resume the lead, and the 42 car, which we're used to seeing up front in the Cup Series, makes his way over to P2 with Markle. So the number that I'm pulling for has made his way up to the front. Might just be by staying up. Let's see if the strategy works out for him. Oh, Bain is still out there, yeah.
Yeah, and he's that thing's sputtering a little bit. You see that tack is dancing a little bit, so he's cutting it really close here. And I heard the 42 is going to come down this time as well on the radio. But the 28 has to come right here. That thing is down on power, and
running out of fuel here actually could hurt you more than it's helping you. Now, he did go that extra lap, but just that little bit of extra time sputtering, you could see how much time Markle made up on him there. Was huge. And it looks like Greg Olynyk is going to have a huge lead here on the path. About 3 seconds on the 8 car of Patterson, but remember, they did pit early, so I expect the rest of this pack with Cortez and Rideout and Reed and all those guys to catch him. But how long will it take for them to catch him? And, having that fresh air is going to pay huge dividends on those tires.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge lead, but you saw how early he came down. And that's just a product of it. But like you said, these guys are going to be coming heavy that just came off pit road. The best case scenario for Greg right here is run 10 or more laps, and maybe there's a caution. Then everybody has to come back down again, and he just drumped everybody in track position. If it goes back green, he's going to have to stop a little bit early again. But if he's able to hold on after that pit stop, he could find his place really good after 75 laps.
He can, and he really only has to go about 12 more laps here, as I believe he pitted right around the lap 25 mark, so he already has 13 laps on his tires, and is holding pretty good time on Patterson, as he only gained about a tenth and a half that last lap, so maybe he can have enough, and if he pits around the lap 50 mark, maybe cutting that even will work out. I really thought that going as long as possible would be the best thing for him, but this is the strategy Greg Olynyk was shooting for, and might be the one that works.
You never know, and that's why you try it. Greg Olynyk last time by ran a 43.069, which is pretty decent for the amount of laps he has on his tires. If you go back and look at somebody that just came off pit road like Adrian Schumacher, he ran a 42.462, so about a half a second difference as it stands right now, but Adrian will click off a few faster laps as those tires get a little heat in them as well. So where you stand right now, you're looking at about a second to a second and a half difference at the end of this run that Greg's going to be losing, but he does have quite a commanding lead of 2.5 seconds, so not worried about that right now.
Right, if you look through your ticker there, Adrian Schumacher is in P17, and he's 12 seconds back, so, at that pace that we were talking about, 6, 7, 8 tenths lap, it's still going to take him 14, 15 laps to get there, and by that time, Greg will already be on pit road if he keeps the strategy the same, so I really think this might actually pay off for him.
And tires make such a difference. Look back in P23. Yeah, P23. That's where Jordan Bain is right now. That is a huge difference from where we just saw him, because he was running in the top 5 even before the pit cycle. But the little bit of sputtering cost him a little bit of time, and then staying out as long as he did cost him that much time. That's a huge difference.
Yeah,
it looks like he's still trying to save fuel back here, so maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe he can make it to the end.
Yeah, he is clutching it. And met Jordan Bain over on NASCAR Heat, so maybe pull a little bit of NASCAR Heat strategy, trying to clutch and fuel save and trying to cut out a pit stop. So we're going to have to keep track of that all night. And, like you said, that might be the difference, clutching it out. And the question is can he hold enough pace for it to make sense on the drivers that are going to be pitting and getting those fresh tires? Can he make up that time?
Why not? He's already in the next round of the playoffs. He's not worried about what happens tonight. He's just out there having a grand old time and trying to win this thing. And, well, why not try something and add something to your notebook for next time we come back? So that'll be interesting to watch. He's sitting back there. As long as he stays on the lead lap and saves fuel, maybe he can make it. And, wow, that'll be interesting to see at the end. Greg is continuing to lead here, but look how quick Vincent Cortez has closed that gap. He already got by the 8 car.
I was just about to say before you said something, have your eyes on that 69 car. Cortez does not have a win yet this year, but look at the time there on the tracker. He was 8, 6, 6, 7, 6 tenths, 3 tenths, 6 tenths quicker a lap. So at this pace, he's going to be there lap 45.
Yeah, and that's just like what I was saying a few minutes ago when we were talking about lap times. You might not see him in your mirror right now, but man, it doesn't take long for those tires to catch back up with you. And the varying strategy is what's going to make this interesting, because who's going to be up front when that checkered flag comes off the flag stand? That's what's going to matter. So if Greg can time it right, he could be sitting where he is right now. However, it could also be Vincent Cortez's day, and he gets by him before that happens. So it'll be interesting to see. We got quite a few cars back here slicing and dicing on those fresher tires. Zimmerman, Bailey, they're trying to work their way through. They stayed out a few extra laps, so they have a few lap fresher tires than these guys around them.
Right, and you look at Seth Reid, like we touched on earlier, who's right now sitting in P10. He pitted on the bumper of Greg Olynyk, and he's almost 5 seconds behind him. So not sure if he slid through the box or what happened, but definitely lost some time there, somewhere on the pit stop or somewhere on the exit of pit road.
And there is an art form to getting on and off pit road that is underappreciated, and that's where drivers can make up a lot of time, especially in a big green flag lap. Here the 50 car is going to come down pit road here, so interesting strategy here, because he stayed out a little bit longer and now he's going to pit early. So, we'll see what happens here. This is very interesting.
It's a really interesting strategy, but for the lead-in, you can make it 30 laps, but I think Vincent Cortez is going to make this look pretty darn easy with these fresher tires. Looks like he's going to be able to slide up right in front of Greg Olynyk and lead here as we have about 30 laps to go here, and Greg should be able to hold on here with this draft, and his pit stop should be coming up soon. So he's still net gained a lot of positions. So I still consider this a win for Olynyk, but we're going to have to see how this works out with Bain trying to stretch his pit window out. With Cortez, there's so much stuff to follow. It's who's going to win.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. And for Greg, he only needed 4 points on the cut line to get in. And so this is exactly what he wants. I think if he comes home with a top 10, he'll be in really good shape to make it, just how tight the points were. But, he is staying with him pretty good, but Greg is a smart race car driver. He knows he's not racing that 69 car for the lead right now. He knows he's racing the track, and he knows he's racing his own tires. So I don't expect him to have an issue. Yes, his pit stop's going to be coming up pretty soon, and we'll see where that cycles out.
Yeah, we will see where it cycles out, and that's a really tough thing to do whenever drivers are on different tire cycles. It's easy to push that window just a little bit further just to try to stay in that draft, and like you said, he's a really good driver just knowing how hard to push his car and know what he's racing against, and he'll keep those fenders clean.
The 50 car came down pit road like we mentioned. Only took right side tires. So, and fuel, because he was there. But that's an interesting move right there. A non-playoff driver just racing for some payout tonight. So, man, who knew this race would be entirely based on strategy?
I had no clue. I mean, we have people trying to make it on one less stop. We have 2 tires. we have a little bit of everything. But that's what makes the series so great. We have different strategies, all great drivers trying to do different things, and once we get down to about 10, 15 laps to go, we'll really see who's stacking up well.
And the teammates that were leading earlier got separated. The 52s up to 4th, and the 51s just falling back to 9th as the 43 took that spot away from them. So they're not able to kind of run nose to tail and make their way up right now. They're trying to battle different things. And one thing you have to think about is, if you were leading the race for the entire front half of this race, you haven't raced around a lot of these guys you're racing with right now, so you're not sure what lines they're going to run and where they're going to go. You got to really be careful and tiptoe your way around.
Yeah, you do. As you're seeing right here, the 88 of Tristan Bailey looking below the looks like the 54 there of Ballesteros. Probably gonna butcher a lot of these last names because I don't see them a lot, but looks like we're gonna have a good battle here going into. I believe this looks like 3 and 4. Looks like he's gonna be able to clear him.
Yeah, P3 and P4, and Bailey is on the fresher tires there, so he's gonna get by Greg here pretty quickly as well. And Mr. Olynyk should be just a few laps away, if not sooner, for making that pit stop, which means he have about 25. Looks like he might be coming this time. He's hugging that bottom pretty closely, which will make it a 25-lap run to the end, which isn't too big, isn't too bad. Yes, he is coming this time. Here he comes.
Nope, he's just making it even, 25, 25, 25, and he was able to actually make up a few spots as he was still riding in P2 whenever he started getting on the brakes, so consider that strategy so far a win-win, but we'll see how far these other guys stay out and see how big of a lead he gets on this next one. But Vincent Cortez is just out there on his own, about 2 seconds ahead of Tristan Bailey, and just want to look back further there in P7 as we have Hedgecokes in the 43 car, one of those drivers that was on the outside looking in, who's making his way up as he just from Striker Motorsports is doing everything he can to try to gain those positions.
Not a lot of guys holding back here in the mid-pack. If you look in the back, Jordan Bain hasn't really moved. So I'm guessing he's still saving. We'll be able to tell here riding along with him if you watch that tachometer, see if he's still clutching in. Yeah, he is clutching in, and man, one last stop is a lot of time. So, man, he's going for it. But if there's one driver that can do it, we saw it last week, he's going to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, I was trying to wait on that ticker to see. He is currently 21 seconds back. So, the way these pit stops work, obviously you have to drive on and off pit road at pit road speed, plus take tires. So you're looking at about 35 to 40 seconds of net time getting on and getting off pit road. So he's only right now about 22 seconds back. So he has about, as Vincent Cortez hits the wall out there in the lead. But it looks like he has a lot of time to play with. And with only 25 to go, you might have just enough pace to be able to pull it off.
Those are mistakes you don't want to make when you're that far out front, because you're really not racing anything, and you don't want to take the time to have to repair that by sitting on pit road for a few extra seconds. It'll be interesting to see what the effect is of that damage over the course of the longer run, but a lot of these guys are starting to slide up towards that wall like we saw at the end of that first run. But we'll keep an eye on Greg Olynyk and see where he's
coming through right now.
There he is, right there. He's right there. He's about to unlap himself again. So just like we saw, carbon copy what we saw about 25 laps ago, he's just doing it again.
Yeah, he's probably going to be able to go low here on Vincent Cortez. Yep. And he's actually going to be able to unlap himself, like you said. So if a caution does come out, very crucial that he is on the lead lap, because even in that lucky dog position, he would have to start ending the longest line, which, I'm not sure how many cars are on the lead lap currently. It looks like 25 cars, him being the last one on the lead lap. Starting behind those extra couple cars would be just that much more to get around.
Now is a great time, I think, James, to take a look at where our guys outside the cut are racing right now. So, P5, Jack Hedgecokes, right there, making a move across Nathan's nose right there. Man, P5 is what you want to see if you're on the outside looking in. So Nathan's coming back a little strong right there, but that's a good run.
Right now,
he's making it happen, and P5 is solid points now. He's coming down pit road here.
Oh man, looked like he was coming on hot there.
Ooh, he got all you could get right there.
Hopefully he made pit road speed.
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. But coming off P5, pitting a little early, I think he saw what Greg did and wanted to try and get on that. Back in 11th, Daniel Keith Jr. He was on the outside looking in as well. P11's a pretty solid points night. There he is right there. We saw him slide him up in on the pit road earlier. He was 4 points out, just like Greg Olynyk. So, man, a top 10 run is really all you need if you're only that many points out. So, he's right there. We'll see how he plays his strategies. He's got a pretty wide open racetrack right now. He can just make time. Greg Olynyk is already back up to 16. He's unlapped himself. He's gotten past some of the other slower cars. And, man, I think he's going to find himself back up front where he was by the end of this thing.
What I want to take a look at here is how far is he behind Jordan Bain? Looks like he is about 15 seconds behind, so I'm not exactly sure if the strategy with Bain is going to work, but it was one heck of a try. We're just going to have to see how this really cycles out here. Looks like he's probably going to be about a second faster a lap.
And Jordan Bain not throttling up completely and clutching getting into the corner. He's going to save a little bit of tire too, so his fall off isn't going to be as big as you would say somebody else. There at the bottom of the screen you see the split difference. Obviously you see the big difference there when Olynyk made his pit stop, but he's closing in little by little. But that 53 to lap 54, there was really no net gain right there, so we'll see. Tristan Bailey is now out front. Vincent Cortez hot on his tail for the first.
It sounds like there's some drivers coming over the chatter saying that they're going to come in the pit road here, so we're going to take a look here and see what's going on. I think it's probably going to be the 69 of Vincent Cortez if I had to guess. No, it looks like he's going to stay out there.
There comes Zimmerman down pit road. My pick for tonight. He's going to come get some fresh tires. Another one that slid him up a little bit. Michael Lepicki's coming down here. So guys who pitted, around lap 30 are going to be the ones that are going to find themselves pitting right now. That's about right for the fuel load. 20 laps, though, to the end is not too long on tires, so when you get back off pit road, you can kind of push it a little harder than you have been to finish this race.
And I think you can, and I'm looking up here. Cortez is still able to hold on pretty strong with the 88 here at Tristan Bailey, even with that little bit of right front damage. I think that has impacted the car a little bit, but with his how much points he had as a safety, I think it's not really going to hurt him as he's making his way to pit road right now. This is a very slick pit road, especially coming off that banking. It's really easy to lose traction with the rear tires of the car. And Adrian Schumacher coming with him. Looks like he got a really, really good pit road entry there. My pick for the night from Tank Racing. And that's still going to give your lead to Tristan Bailey. And the 66 of Rosa is going to be in P2. And the 42 of Markle P3. Dominion P4. And the 2 car in P5 rounding that out.
There's some more mixed strategy around here. But you see how much those guys are trying to getting onto pit road, and that just shows you how important that pit entrance and pit exit is. You can gain and lose a lot of time there, and so it's not surprising that these guys are pushing the envelope. Luckily, nobody's gotten themselves into trouble down there. A lot of cars back there right behind the leader. Again, guys that are on fresher tires trying to get through and avoid some of the guys that are trying to play this out and run a little bit longer. Those closing rates are really fast sometimes and can be dangerous.
And looking at my scoring pile, and it actually looks like Hedgecokes is scored in P29 right now, so I think he might have actually had a speeding time.
Yeah, and, he got out towards that line, and if you cross that line after the cone, you can get an unsafe pit entrance. Serves the same thing. It's a 55-second penalty. You have to sit in your pit box for that long. That's a couple laps worth of time. That's pretty huge. Here's the gap between Bain and Olynyk on the bottom corner of the screen as the leader, Tristan Bailey.
He's getting it on pit road right now.
You see that gap, half of what it was 5 laps ago.
Right, but as these tires fall off, that gap's going to get harder and harder and harder to close. So, really going to have to look and see how this is going to work out, as Nathan De La Rosa from your team is going to be your leader right now.
There we go. Get that JBR Glitch Supra up front. Go get some glitch, use code JBR10 and get 10% off your order. It's really good stuff, but Nathan's making it look really good out front in that 66 car. We've been super happy to have him on the team this year. First year with SRN. He's going to continue with us again next year, and glad to have him. Good to see that car out front.
Yeah, it is, and looks like we have 6 cars still out here on the track. Jordan Bain is going to be looking to try to string it out all the way, so call him, I guess, a 7th. And then Greg Olynyk is about 1.2 seconds ahead of the 8 car of Patterson, and then there's a 3-second gap back to the 54 car in P10.
We talked about the gap but we don't even know if Bain has enough fuel yet. So, all this could be for naught if he runs out of fuel. But as it runs right now, that gap keeps shrinking, and Olynyk is running blistering times right now. He's pushed it a lot harder this set of 25 laps than last time, but I think he knows he can. I think he knows he had about 10 laps of fuel left, so he feels like he can use a little bit more tire than he did last time. And if there's any time to use it, now would be the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one thing to think about, too, maybe Bain went that one extra lap and he sputtered that one extra lap just so maybe he can push it a little bit harder. So maybe he's saving a little bit extra now, so that way whenever it comes to crunch time and battle starts to come, maybe he'll be able to crank it up and hold him off. As you see the 13 of Beau Tiffany make his way to pit road.
Beau Tiffany, P6 when he peeled off right there, but what a recovery from the first lap crisis of tonight. So that's good to see, and in the playoffs you need to try to save all the points you can. We got a lot of playoff drivers in that 12 to 18 range that kind of stayed out a little bit longer. They're going to try to get past all these non-playoff drivers sitting in front of them to gain every little point they can. We're going to try to have the standings as soon as we can after the race. Obviously, we got to add up all the points and bonus points. We should be able to let you know who's in and who's out, but I guarantee you it's going to be tight either way.
Absolutely, they were tight coming in, and I expect it to be no different otherwise. Playoff drivers are in the front, in the back, in the middle. They're a little bit everywhere right now, but as we're looking, the 66 is still staying out about 8 seconds ahead of the 42. I expect these guys are just kind of trying to stay out and grab a caution if something would happen to come out.
Yes, and, Nathan's a JBR driver, and we talk a lot about strategy and race history week to week, so no surprise he's trying to stretch it here to see what he can do. But then again, it's a non-playoff driver just trying to go out and win this thing, so there's more racing other than just the playoffs going on out there, and that's just evidence. But this is going to be the battle for the lead coming up here, and man, let's check in. Where is Jordan Bain right now? What is that gap looking like?
He's about 2 seconds now.
2 seconds. Wow, this is clicking off quickly, and it's going to be even easier when Olynyk can get to his draft.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, was he saving enough? That way he can go hard at the end. But I know Jordan Bain will run his own race, and where he ends up because he is locked in. So it was a great strategy to try, and just being right on the edge of that fuel window with that caution was great. But here comes your leader, De La Rosa, on the pit road, having a nice smooth entry there. Looks like it's windy on pit road there.
Very windy day here at Auto Club, but smooth entrance, maybe not a smooth camera angle of the entrance. Jordan Bain's still running the bottom right here, trying to save as much as he can. Olynyk's having a little bit of trouble here with Patterson, which is holding him up from catching Bain, which is probably what Jordan Bain wants to see. But Patterson was one that came early as well, so kind of on that same-ish strategy, maybe a couple laps, fresher tires. Be interesting to see. But as far as Greg Olynyk goes, he said before the race, man, 4 points out, watch this. He's doing everything he can to get himself into the next round, and if he makes that next round, I think he's a force to win this thing.
I think so too. And we have a good battle for the lead here. We have teammates of Domingue and Markle here battling for the lead, and it looks like the 42 here is going to make his way to the lead. That's what I like to see.
That top line, just the run out is so good, but Domingue can stick that car right down there on the line and help it turn, and that's when you see him get that advantage in the center of the corner, and sometimes that advantage in the center is so good that the guy behind you doesn't have a chance. And Patterson now has caught Jordan Bain. Olynyk is in tow by about half a second off of them, so this could be the eventual battle for the lead, and I believe it will after everything cycles through.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be too much of a battle just because we have the 28 trying to save fuel here, but like I said, maybe he's saved enough. He's going to battle the 8 car here side by side down the back straightaway. They are dead even going into 3, and it looks like the 8 car is going to nudge his way forward as Tyler Markle makes his way to pit road. The 8 car is able to clear himself, make his way to the eventual lead here, which is right now currently P4.
And what's a little bit surprising, and I'll point this out because I noticed the small thing, there's a little damage on the front, a little damage on the back of that 8 car, so maybe he's found something we don't know, but still making speed with the damage on that thing.
He is, and sometimes you just get lucky with the damage. I've experienced it before. I've had a good bit of damage, and sometimes it hurts the car, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just the effect of net code, and car
Pulling
able
away
to
from Jordan
pull
Bain.
away from Jordan Bain here going into turn 3. Yeah, I think here we go as Domingue makes his way to pit road. I think Olynyk has to make his way around, but the 54 has made his way around him, so the 54 is creeping their way into this battle as well.
JBR car leading tonight. Love to see it. Josh Marcy, SRN veteran, joined our team this year, sporting the Shippo colors on that 35 Super tonight. He's playing a little bit different strategy, trying to stretch it out. We saw him stretch it out a little bit earlier too, so maybe he's hoping he can catch a caution here. He pitted on lap 35, so man, not far from being able to make it all the way if he really wants to. 10-second lead, but I think he's going to this time. Yep.
So this is going to give your battle here to the 8 car of Patterson here in the lead, but don't look too far. The 54 Ballesteros is making his way up there, and he is only about 6/10 back, and so is Zimmerman here looking to the inside of Olynyk.
My pick Zimmerman, here he comes. But that 54 car, we talked about the team championships before the race with JW being so tight on that 1-8 battle, and man, that's big for team points if he's able to finish where he is right now. So it's a battle within a battle. You're battling for your own points, but team points is something we can't forget about.
Absolutely not. And we're coming up here to 6 laps to go, and Ballesteros is closed in about a 10th or so the last lap. So I look for that battle between the 8 and the 54 to heat up here as it goes on, as he had a really good 3 and 4, closed about a 10th through just those 2 corners alone. And the 8 car's trying to break the draft here, but I really don't think that's helping him out.
I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. That 54 car is the fastest car right now in the top 10 as far as lap times go. But Zimmerman is not far off, and he has a little bit fresher tires. So, and when I see, that's 4 laps fresher, and man, that's a big difference. We saw just the difference 1 lap can make on tires. 4 laps, I think Zimmerman's just licking his chops, waiting for a good opportunity to get by both of them here.
Yeah, and let's not forget either about Tristan Bailey, who's broken away from Cortez behind him. Larch and Schumacher, he also making his way up through here, and he's having a really good straightaway, and I think he's going to be able to latch on to the back of Zimmerman here, and all these guys are going to pull themselves up with 5 laps to go only.
Zimmerman's coming. He's coming. And can't forget about Greg Olynyk. He is back in 5th, so hasn't slid too much. Still good points. That's exactly what he needs. So even though he's not going to be up front for this one, that's all he needed. Whoa, Zimmerman chasing that 54 down. 54 throwing a block, 2 blocks. They're both trying to get by that 8 car who's a little bit slower. Now we're going to have a battle for the lead going into 3. Zimmerman shoves it down in there. He's going to slide up right here, see if the 54 catches him a break. Not quite clear.
He's going to clear.
Squeeze him off.
He is going to squeeze him off. Yep. But look who that brings up with him too. Tristan Bailey up the P3, was able to make his way around the 8 car as well. And this is the 4-car horse at the pony show with 4 laps to go.
Zimmerman, even though that was 1 move in 1 corner, how much did that slide job take out of the tires? Is that going to allow the 88 to be able to catch him a little bit quicker? That's something you don't think about why you're doing it, because you just want to pass the guy in front of you. But just that single move can take a lot out of those tires.
Yeah, it can, but the 88 also has to get around 2 other very strong cars of Patterson and Ballesteros. So they're going to look side by side here going through turns 3 and 4. This is great battling up front here. Looking at 3 to go, and
no gap right there. And Bailey is going to get a side draft, and he's
going for everything.
3 getting into 1. Here comes Tristan Bailey for the outright lead right here. Zimmerman's tight on him as they go into 1.
He was going for 1 spot, I thought, but he's now going for 2, and looks like the 88's going to be able to slide up here. What a move by Tristan Bailey to clear Ballesteros and Zimmerman there with only 3 laps to go, and it's only still 4 cars.
Oh, Zimmerman gets turned inside wall. He's going to hit it hard.
Oh, what a tough hit for Zimmerman there.
That's a playoff driver who was on the cut line coming into this race, and my pick to win the race, but his race is going to be over. He hit that inside wall a ton. I'm not sure that car's going to be able to continue. Tristan Bailey now has the outright lead by just over half a second.
2 laps to go, and I can just feel the tension rising here with 2 laps to go on this cut race at Atlanta in the Golden State 150. Tristan Bailey's your leader. Ballesteros is about 7/10 back, so he's going to need to make a big move here to get the 88, but I think it's the 88's race here to lose right now.
And what's big right there is the Devin Zimmerman machine falling to where he is, still running. Not much left of that machine, but he's still out there trying to give it all he can because every point matters. But that's going to basically put Greg Olynyk in because he's going to fall out of the cut. That's way more than 4 positions between the two. But that makes that Jack Hedgecock's penalty negate a little bit. And we're on the last lap here, and Tristan Bailey is going to run away with this thing, it looks like.
He is. He pulled about 1/10.5, 2/10 on Ballesteros there that last lap. So Tristan just needs to keep the tires underneath him here, try to keep a clean lap. Maybe not run as aggressive through these corners. As you can see, he kind of didn't get all the way up to the wall, but still pulling away from the 54 here, heading down the backstretch.
Yeah, and that's a lead that has grown to a second. So playoff driver Tristan Bailey's punching his ticket into the next round. Greg Olynyk is going to probably come home in the 6th, bearing any unfortunate events here. But Tristan Bailey is going to win at Auto Club tonight and punch his ticket to the next round of the playoffs.
Yes, he is the winner of your Golden State 150. And it looks like Jordan Bain was able to make it on fuel P7.
Greg Olynyk there in 6th. Exactly what he needed, only 4 points out of the cut coming in. I'm not a math expert, but I'm going to say that's probably going to put him in because of what happened to Devin Zimmerman. But man, this race had a little bit of everything, and this could be one of the best SRN XFINITY races we've ever seen.
Absolutely. A lot of green flag racing there as we only had one caution. Zimmerman could have been a second one if he would have been on the track surface, but since he was not, that's why that caution didn't come out there. But we see Tristan Bailey here, your race winner, coming down to burn those tires off as he's excited to put it in victory lane tonight.
He doesn't need those tires anymore like he needed them a couple laps ago. So he's going to celebrate this one, and he deserves it. He played a really good strategy, passed the cars when he needed to, but also passed them efficiently. Didn't burn up his stuff, taking too long to get around him, and sometimes that's the difference. And it put Zimmerman in a bad spot, and unfortunately, what happened after that's racing. But good win tonight for Tristan Bailey.
Absolutely. Put together a very solid race. Had the strategy worked out just right, and he's burning it down on those checkered flags here on the inside. See the sponsor there on the quarter panel there at TJ's team. Great organization for children's cancer. Great to put them on board there. And not sure, but Austin Reedy, one of his unofficial teammates, donates their money towards the organization. Not sure if he does the same, but great organization to donate to, so check them out. But running down through our leaderboard here, we have Tristan Bailey, as we know, the race winner. Drew Ballesteros bringing in P2, and Dylan Patterson bringing home in the 3rd position. Vincent Cortez P4, and my pick, Adrian Schumacher, rounding out the top 5 for tank racing.
Unfortunately, my pick won't be on this leaderboard, but we have Greg Olynyk, who needed a good day, comes home P6, so mission accomplished there. Jordan Bain, the fuel-saving genius, came home P7. Michael Lark in 8th. Rhett Tucker, a playoff driver, in 9th. And then Aaron Gurwitz, who was very close to that cut, needed a solid day, top 10. Nothing too crazy from a usually consistent driver.
Absolutely. All those drivers up there doing a great job of getting in the top 10, but, closing out there, outside of the top 10, Michael Lepicki bringing him a strong P11. Nathan De La Rosa, who we saw stay out really, really late there trying to catch a caution, still was able to bring him P12, so good job from Nathan there. Matthew Robinson bringing up P13, Seth Reid in 14th, and Stan Hausman wrapping up your top 15 there in the 39 car from R&D.
And then in 16th will be the 50 car that played that 2-tire strategy there to try something. Zach Duscher in P17 will be for Rev Reloaded, and then Corey Saucer will bring home 18th there for R&D. That's going to round out the top 18. You see a couple team matchups right there. We got 2 tank cars in the top 5. We got the Rev cars being 6th and 7th. So a couple good team points days for some of the better teams in the league as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really curious to see how these team points work out and see what teams did what it took to move on to the round of 4 and see what teams came up just a little bit short.
All right, Dylan Patterson will be our first interview, coming home P3 for R&D Motorsports. Dylan, P3 tonight. Good run. What do you think?
Glad to hear y'all again.
It's always a sign of good things when you're brought up to the broadcast booth, but tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
your race and strategy and what you needed there at the end to maybe contend for it.
Honestly, I had no idea how long we could go on a fuel run. I had 0 laps of practice. Kind of hopped in 10 minutes before the race and was like, okay, I'll go qualify, and didn't really qualify, and kind of just took a few laps to learn the track, get the feel of the car, and made my way up the front. And car felt great all day. That last run there, I probably could have saved it a little more and had it won. I think I was trying too hard to catch Greg when I really didn't have to catch him. I would have had him on speed anyway, and I didn't realize that until it was too late.
Well, all in all, it was a good run tonight. That 8 car is always looking fast. Any family, friends, sponsors you want to thank tonight while you have the opportunity?
Just everyone involved with SRN who puts on this league. You also doing the broadcast. Everybody involved. These guys are great to race up against. For the most part, this league's very clean. Drivers give each other respect, enough room, so it's great.
All right, man. Well, good run tonight. Good to hear from you up here, and you still have a few races left in the year. Go try to win you one.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I mean, I don't have the playoffs, so I took that 2-tire call. I'm like, I don't have anything to lose, so it's either win the race or see what happens.
That's right. Well, good run tonight, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
That was 3 right there of Dylan Patterson, and James, you got our next driver coming in.
Yeah, we're going to be dragging up here Drew Ballesteros, who finished P2. Mr. Ballesteros, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Let's talk about the race tonight. P2 there, great run from you there, and you were closing in on the lead there at the end. What were you thinking there as those laps were closing down?
I was just hoping that there was nobody behind me with fresher tires. It looks like 7 laps to the track, but overall, really strong run for 54 as well as JW Racing. So pretty good night.
Yeah, it was a very good night, and you played the strategy just right, made your way up front, and tried a little bit of the short pit strategy, which gave you that track position, but ultimately just didn't have quite enough tire there to hold off Tristan Bailey, but great finish nonetheless. Who do you have to thank tonight? Any friends, family, sponsors, anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, definitely want to thank family and friends who are watching. Want to thank my team, Justin Rideout, as well as all my teammates at JW Racing for allowing us to come out here every week. Want to thank our team sponsors, Track Racer, Thunder Valley, as well as all the league owners who have taken the time to make this such a great place to race every Thursday night. But overall, good night. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Yep, that we will see you next week. And how are you feeling moving into next week?
I feel really good. I think we work really well as a team to make sure we're on the same page. Michael and I made sure we were trying to be on the same strategy towards the end of that last run, or next to last run. So I think as long as we continue to work well together, I think we have a really good shot at trying to lock up the team championship. I know we're all pretty good at Indianapolis, so we're looking forward to getting there and see what we can do.
Absolutely, and Indianapolis being a track where teamwork works out really well. Look forward to seeing you guys try to run up front and lock in that team championship. Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
All right. I get to interview the winner tonight, and that would be the only playoff driver we also get to interview tonight. Tristan Bailey got it done. Tell us about it. What were you thinking closing in on the leaders those last laps?
Hopefully no caution with the scenes Zimmerman get spun. I don't know. I'm just glad that we got a long run, because on a short run you just can't go nowhere. Everybody's packed together. But once you get through green flag pit stops, everything, they're all spread out. It's easier to pick up one and pass one as you go, because you ain't got to worry about the high line coming up on you when you try to pass them on the bottom.
Absolutely, and your playoff drive will continue because you have advanced into the next round. Already being in and winning tonight, there was really no way for anything else to happen. But tell us a little bit about did you try to save a little bit more on that last run? Because it looks like you were just so much faster than the guys in front of you, even on just a couple laps fresher tires.
Actually, no. I ran way harder when I had clean air by myself than I did behind the pack. When you're in that pack, your right front just shreds more. So if you get that clean air, your right front does a lot better.
Yeah, fresh air is the key. So we move to Indy next week, and that also starts the next round of the playoffs. How are you feeling about the next couple races?
What's after Indy?
We have Indianapolis, we have Texas, and Phoenix.
Pretty dog water at Phoenix. Indy have never ran there yet on iRacing. And then, let's see, Texas.
Well, we hope some good luck falls your way, and probably a few practice sessions we'll see you in, it sounds like. But good win tonight. You got to see that car up front, saw a lot of time, but tell us a little bit about who you have to thank and who was on your car.
You gotta thank also GJ's team, which is More Than Kate Foundation, and then the guy who makes the teams, Michael Kinsley. He's got a paint Discord. If anybody would like me to share it in the Discord after the race, or I don't know how you would share it on the feed, so I ain't gonna worry about that. But honestly, yeah, I'm just all by myself tonight. Kind of loner, so.
All right, well, you're going to take that winner sticker back to Mississippi with you. Good run tonight, good win. We'll see you next week.
I guess.
Well, this race had it all. And it had a little bit of playoff drama, a lot of strategy, a lot of good racing. And, man, this was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, this was a fun race to watch and a fun race to cover. A lot of stuff went on here as we're going to look at our overall playoff standings, and Devin Zimmerman was not able to make that after that spin there in the last round, but Beau Tiffany and Greg Olynyk were tied there in points for the cut line. So I think that means they move on. Right, they both move on. So it's going to be the round of 11. Look at the cut for 5. So anything to make this Xfinity season that much more exciting. Here's your top 10 drivers: Jordan Bain, Cortez, Schumacher, Gurwitz, Markle, Tucker, Shane Wolf, Seth Reid, Tristan Bailey, as we touched on, Tiffany and Olynyk tied for that last spot.
This is what's interesting right here. 1 point either way, and Tiffany or Olynyk would be out. And think about what happened to Beau Tiffany on lap 1. He got caught up in that wreck, but you know what? He completed every lap of this race and finished P23. Just like I said, 23 is better than 30th, and every one of those points is what kept his championship's hopes alive. But also for Olynyk, getting passed by all those guys on those older tires at the end of the race, slid back to 6th. If he would have slid back one more spot, he would be outside looking in as well. So, man, like we say, every position, every point makes a difference.
Yep, and moving into next week's race, we have round 1 of the round of 11. The Hoosier 150 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's going to be same place, same time, 8:30 p.m. Central here on the Speed Racing Network channel. Not sure who'll be in the booth covering, but it was a pleasure, Jonathan, if we get to come back next week and cover this race.
Absolutely. I've seemed to find a new occupation here. They keep asking me to come back, but I enjoy doing it. The next race you'll see on Speed Racing Network is going to be the Cup Series. So, James, we'll get to see you in action. It's going to be week 3 of the round of 15. So, another cutoff race. Same place at Auto Club Speedway. That's this Sunday, 8 o'clock Central Time. And if it's anything like what we saw last night or tonight, it's going to be a must-watch.
Absolutely. And looking forward to that race here on Sunday night. Like you said, I'll be racing here in the Cup Series. And I'm locked into the next round, so I might have to do some fuel strategy and see if we can pull the Bain strategy off.
Well, watching tonight, you were able to build that notebook a little bit, and maybe you have a few ideas you can share with your teammates and try and win that thing. But, man, what a race it was tonight. It was a pleasure being up here with you, James, and hopefully we get to do it again very soon.
Yeah, hopefully it was a pleasure being up here with you, Jonathan, and look forward to next week's race. Hopefully all you guys go ahead and tune in.
Absolutely. Make sure you subscribe to Speed Racing Network. And like it as well. Share it with all your family and friends. If they love good racing, they'll love this broadcast and love what Speed Racing Network does. But don't forget, go faster.